Medicare is a big, looming decision that hangs over people's heads as they approach 65 years old. And yes, it is complicated, incredibly so. There are a lot of parts and plans and rules and exceptions, but there are also basics that have to come first, and those don't need to be so complicated. Here are the 5 basic decisions you need to make when it comes to Medicare. Number 1, should you even take it right now? Number 2, once it is time to take it, when and how do you start? Number 3, once you have Original Medicare, what do you do about the gaps that Original Medicare does not cover? Number 4, once you have those gaps covered, how do you use Medicare when you need it? And then number 5, what if you're not happy with what you have? Now, we are closing in on 200 videos on this channel of various lengths, and there are deep dives into each one of these basics if you really want to get into the details and get into the weeds. But this video is about simplicity. So I'm going to go over each of those 5 topics and the decisions that most people face. We have chapters if you want to skip around from one chapter to another. So right off the bat, the first question is, should you even take Medicare right now? And I'm just referring to those coming up on 65 years old. Those with a disability, that will be a different video. Look, you don't have to do anything. It's America. But for those who choose not to do certain things, there can be consequences or penalties. And Medicare is no different. But this is a super misunderstood topic where we hear from people all the time that say, hey, I have to go on Medicare at 65 or I get penalized, right? Let me clear this up for most people. If you are employed or your spouse is employed and you are covered by a company health insurance plan, again, whether that's your company or your spouse's company, you do not have to go on Medicare when you turn 65 and you will not be penalized. So if you are employed or covered by your spouse, you don't need to worry right now about penalties. Here are some things to consider. Number 1, just because you are covered by your company plan does not mean that your company plan is a better fit for you. Medicare coverage is quite strong. Nothing against where I work now, but Medicare offers more coverage for less cost than my current plan. So you won't be penalized if you don't take Medicare at 65 in this situation, but that doesn't mean ignore Medicare as an option. Number 2, if you are taking Social Security benefits before age 65, you will automatically be signed up for Medicare Parts A and B. This is important because we get a lot of questions about this. Medicare is not automatic at 65 unless you are taking Social Security benefits before age 65. Then it is. And it is both Part A and Part B. Now you can delay Part B. You have to do this proactively, and there are reasons to do this that we cover in different videos, but you can't be taking Social Security benefits and not have at least Part A. Okay, the third part of this little chapter here is if your company or your spouse's company has fewer than 20 employees, things can get a little bit tricky. You won't be penalized if you don't take Medicare in terms of an official government penalty. However, your company plan technically will only pay for your healthcare services after Medicare pays its share first. And if you don't have Medicare, you could be on the hook for your full bill. This is up to the discretion of your insurance company. So again, this is only if your company has fewer than 20 employees. Everyone with 20 employees or more, you don't need to worry about this. All right, the fourth little sub-chapter of this main chapter is if you are on an individual plan through the marketplace, once you turn 65, you lose your eligibility for certain credits, making the marketplace plan not appealing when compared to Medicare. All right, the fifth and final subtopic of this chapter is the way you do get penalized for not taking Medicare at 65 is if you do not have health insurance at 65, or you have COBRA as your health insurance when you turn 65, or you're on a retiree plan at 65 and you decide not to get Medicare. The penalty comes when you do decide to get Medicare sometime after your initial enrollment period or a special election period. So to recap section 1 of this video, should you even take Medicare now? Well, compare what you do have now with what you would be looking at while on Medicare, and then you can make that decision. Okay, the second basic question that we need to answer is you've decided to take Medicare. How and when should you start? Well, our channel name is 90 Days from Retirement for a reason. Let's focus on the 90 days part. SSA.gov is where you would sign up for Medicare, and you can submit an application 90 days before your 65th birthday or 90 days before you want your Medicare to start. So I recommend to everyone, start that process early. This is a massive government organization that we're dealing with. Things take time, so get started early. I touched on it just now, but the how of applying for Medicare is through the Social Security Administration. You set up a My Social Security account online, you can sign up for Medicare Parts A and B online, or you can do either of those at your local Social Security office. Just make sure that you set up an appointment rather than just walking in. So start early, work through the Social Security Administration. And by the way, our website 90daysfromretirement.com has what we call the steps to Medicare. It goes through how far away from Medicare you are, as well as each of the steps in those timeframes and step-by-step tutorials on how to set up a My Social Security account, how to sign up for Medicare, and others. I'm biased, but I think that site is quite helpful. The link is in the description. All right, the third chapter of this video is once you have Medicare, how do you fill in the gaps that original Medicare does not cover? Again, this is for most people, so there are other fringe cases here, but for most people, it's one of three things. Number one, you have original Medicare. That's it. You have a large Part A deductible, a reasonable Part B deductible, you have 20% cost sharing with no maximum, and you have no drug coverage, no dental, no vision, no hearing. For some, this makes sense to them because they are okay with the unlimited risk, either because they don't feel like they're ever going to get sick, or they are wealthy enough to not worry about it. Your second and third options are related and sort of follow the do you want to pay now or do you want to pay later idea. Number two is a Medicare supplement plan plus some other plans. Medicare supplement plans cover the gaps of original Medicare, that is hospital and medical coverage. That is not prescription drug coverage, dental, or vision. So most people will get a supplement plan and then a separate prescription drug plan. Some others will get a separate dental and vision plans as well. So these people pay more now in the form of higher monthly premiums, whether they use the healthcare system or not, but they potentially save more later because of the lower cost sharing in the form of copays and coinsurance if they do need to use the healthcare system. They also don't have networks and they have more freedom around healthcare decisions. These can work really well for a lot of people, but definitely not everyone. Okay, option number three is a Medicare Advantage plan. These are the pay later option. Most Advantage plans are $0 premiums. 73% of everyone on a Medicare Advantage plan right now pays $0 in premiums. For those who do have premiums, the average nationally is $15 per month. So not a lot of paying now in the terms of fixed monthly premiums. Now they typically include drug coverage, dental, vision, and some other things. The trade-off is more cost sharing in the form of higher copays, coinsurance, and then they have an out-of-pocket max. These are closer to what you've experienced with your work plans of needing to stay in a network. You could have prior authorizations and potential denials. These are managed care plans managed by private insurance companies. There is a lot that goes into this. So if this is the only video you've ever seen on our channel, please be sure to watch our Advantage versus supplement comparison. It's a heated debate, but Advantage plans can work really well for a lot of people, but definitely not everyone. So to wrap up chapter 3 here, how are you going to fill in the gaps of original Medicare? Do nothing, get a supplement plan and potentially some other plans, or get an Advantage plan. Okay, let's hit chapter 4. Once you have the gaps covered, how do you use Medicare? Well, for all of the options above, you get cards. And when you need to use the healthcare system, you go into a facility or you visit a provider, you show them a card. If you have original Medicare only, you show them your red, white, and blue Medicare card. The doctor will bill Medicare first. Medicare will pay its part. For Part B expenses, we'll say it's 80%. And then you get a bill for the other 20%. Original Medicare in a supplement plan works a little bit different. You show them your Medicare card and you show them your supplement card. Your doctor will send the bill to Medicare first. Again, assuming Part B charges, Medicare will cover 80%, and then the other 20% is sent to your supplement plan. Let's assume Plan G, you have a Part B deductible, and then your supplement plan takes care of the rest. Once you've met that Part B deductible, you don't have to pay that again for the rest of the year. Your supplement plan is taking care of all of those gaps that original Medicare doesn't cover in the form of hospital and medical coverage. If you have prescriptions, you'll show your pharmacy a separate prescription drug plan card. If you have dental coverage, you'll go to the dentist and you'll show them a separate dental card. If you have an optometrist and you have vision coverage, you'll show them a separate vision card. So you go in, you show the card or cards, and then you figure out the bills. Okay, Medicare Advantage plans work a little bit different. You won't need your Medicare card anymore because the Advantage plan actually replaces original Medicare. You have one insurance card from your insurance company, and you show that to your doctor or your pharmacy or your dentist or your optometrist. It's all the same individual card. The providers bill the insurance company that has your Advantage plan. The Advantage plan and the insurance company pay their part, and then you pay a copay or a coinsurance depending on the procedure. Okay, the last chapter, what if you want to change what you have? Well, it depends on which route that you picked. If you went with original Medicare only first, and then you want to pick up one of the other two, well, a supplement plan you can apply for, but since you didn't apply during your supplement plan open enrollment period, you could be subject to medical underwriting, meaning the insurance company will ask you medical questions and they can either deny you and not take you at all, or they can charge you extra. There are a handful of states that do not follow this, but those are the exception, not the rule. Now, an Advantage plan you can pick up during the annual enrollment period every year, which runs from October 15th through December 7th, and coverage starts on January 1st. Now, if you went with a supplement plan first, you can drop that at any time that you want. You can go back to original Medicare only, or you can pick up an Advantage plan during that same annual enrollment period every year that runs from October 15th through December 7th, and coverage starts on January 1st. Now, if you went with an Advantage plan first and you want to go back to original Medicare only, again, you can do that anytime you want. If you had an Advantage plan first, you have a year to try it out. If you don't like it, you can switch back to a supplement plan with no medical questions. If it has been more than a year, then you will have to go through that same medical underwriting that you would have had to do with a supplement plan outside of your supplement plan open enrollment period, where they could deny you or they could charge you extra. Again, you're on an Advantage plan first. If you want to switch to another Advantage plan, you can do that during the annual enrollment period each year, again, from October 15th through December 7th. Coverage would start on January 1st, or you can also make a change between those Advantage plans during the open enrollment period from January 1st through March 31st. So the whole point of this section is that there are ways for you to make changes if you aren't happy. Some of those ways are easier than others, but you do have ways to change. And I guess the whole point of this video is that you can go into the weeds of each of these topics, and we can make them quite complicated. But those 5 questions are the real questions that you need to answer. Should you even take Medicare now? If you are going to take it, when and how do you get it? What are you doing about the gaps of original Medicare? How do you use your plans once it's time to use the healthcare system with Medicare? And what can you do if you want to switch? And guess what? The complicated parts of those questions, that's what Medicare helpers are here for. Your agent is here to help you through this. If you have one, please use him or her. Your local SHIP office is there to help you through this. We are here to help you through this if you don't have an agent, or if you just want to go on our website and use it. Use it. So with the onslaught of mail and phone calls and emails, throw on top of that the research that you can overwhelm yourself with on YouTube or the internet. Don't let it scare you. Don't let it get you down. It doesn't have to be scary. If you do want to take deep dives into these topics, subscribe to our channel, check out our other videos, and I will see you in the next video.